everybody, it's Suzanne Grandchamp, divorce attorney, author of Marriages End, Families Don't, Divorce Wisely, which is available on my website, and Jungian coach. In today's video, we're going to talk about whether or not to change your name as part of your divorce. So let's dive in. Before we do, just a reminder that this is basic divorce information and not legal advice. You need to get legal advice from an attorney licensed to practice law in the state in which you reside and who practices in the jurisdiction in which you live. Okay, so whether or not to change your name as a part of the divorce. First, you're generally afforded an opportunity to do so. As a part of the divorce, often a name change is a part of or a paragraph in your proposed judgment and decree that's offered up to the court. And it most normally or usually comes up when the wife is considering retaking her maiden name. That's not always how it comes up. Sometimes someone just wants to change their name, and that could be the husband or the wife. Regardless, though, the divorce is an opportunity for both parties potentially to change their names, which is generally allowed as long as they're not doing so to dupe anyone or to deceive creditors, and often so long as they haven't been convicted previously of a crime. So you may be wanting to change your name to something different because you've always wanted to be known as, Anne instead of Jan or whatever. And that's kind of different from what I'm going to talk about a little bit. But a lot of people just want a different name and can adopt that different name or take that different name as a part of the divorce and get a legal name change that will save them from having to do a separate legal proceeding to change their name in the future. Most times, however, how this comes up is because women are trying to decide whether or not to retake their maiden name. And about half of them do, and about half of them don't. What seems to be a big factor is whether they still have minor children at home who may have their married name. So I've seen women, for example, who have children still at home, change their name so that it's now their first name, their maiden name, and their married name, so that they still have the same name as their children. I've also seen plenty of women who want nothing to do with the married name of their former spouse, and they simply take back their maiden name. So they go back to their first name, their former middle name, and then their maiden name. I've also seen women take a different first name and a different last name in changing their name, and I've also had men do this as well. But most typically it comes up for women in considering whether to go back to their maiden name, and that seems to rise and fall as to whether they have minor children who are still identified by their married name. One thing I want to point out, though, is that if you're considering a name change, you can go ahead and change your name and legally be known by perhaps your first, middle, and maiden names, but you can go by your married name with regard to school functions. You can even put your married name, even though it's not your legal name, on forms for the school to make it easier for your children. So that's a possibility where you can actually get the name change. You don't have to go through a separate proceeding, a legal proceeding later to change your name, which is going to have a court fee, and you might have to have witnesses, etc. So you can get your name changed, but you can be known colloquially at the school as Mrs. Jones or whatever for the benefit of your children. So just think about that as you're considering whether or not to change your name. Okay, everybody, thanks for listening. I hope this has been helpful if you're considering whether or not to change your name. Just a reminder that I have a webinar you can watch on what you need to do immediately if you're considering divorce. And also, we're still taking registration for my Divorce Readiness Boot Camp. If you're interested in either of those things or any of the other multitudinous resources that I have on my website, please check me out at SuzanneGrandchamp.com. Thanks, and until then, peace be unto you.